Okay, so if you're ready, we'll get cracking.
What we're doing?
No idea.
Good.
And three, two, one.
This is Dan Decker, host of Bad Choices in Bourbon, but I'll tell you what isn't a bad choice, catching up with Spock the Week.
Hi, this is Sean Ferrick from Trek Culture. You are listening to Spock the Week podcast.
And welcome back to Spark of the Week with me, as always, your host, Albert Android, and my good friend and fellow co-host, Gregor Cameron.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know what time of day you're listening to it, so hopefully I've covered it.
Delete where applicable. So this is just a quick one this week, just because we literally couldn't think of anything to talk about. We did put something out on social media, but nobody got back to us.
Nobody. Well,
Well,
you've
one
got two
person.
listeners. You know, you'd think one of them would have came back. You know.
Well, no, 2 listeners, 47
Yeah.
followers, and all that stuff. But anyway, we don't really have anything much to talk about this week, so we just thought we'd get back to you and just have a little chit chat.
To have a rant.
Well, no, we're not ranting. We're not
I
letting you
like.
rant.
I would like to have a rant about Apple TV.
No, we're not ranting about Apple TV. This is a Star Trek podcast, so unless it has something to do
I
with
want
Star Trek,
a. I want a rant about Apple TV
well, you
because
know,
I subscribed so that I could get season 2 of For All Mankind, which were season 2 started on Friday, and they've released one episode.
well, they may very well release the next episode the following week.
Yeah, but who does that now? You just put it all out there. I'm just gutted. Have you watched For All Mankind?
No, because I don't have Apple TV and I refuse to subscribe to Apple TV.
It's more Star Trek than Star Trek.
Well, go on then. Tell us a little bit about it then, seeing as you brought it up.
Well, it's the creator is none other than Ronald D. Moore.
Ah, okay. Never heard of him.
Oh my God. You call yourself a Star Trek fan?
Of course I've bloody heard of him, you twit.
No. Anything that comes out of your mouth is believable. Who's William Shatner?
Spock who? So what's the premise of the show then? What's
Well, it's an alternative history of the space race,
okay.
where the presumption is that the Russians made it first to the moon.
Interesting.
and the effect that that would have on the space race.
Right.
So,
Okay.
without giving too much away, it means that Nixon is so angry he pulls out of Vietnam almost immediately, so that it can throw all the resources at the space race. And then while Nixon's doing that, the Russians put a woman on the moon. So then Nixon then wants to put a woman on the moon, and because the Russians got there first, Terry Kennedy doesn't go to the party at Chappaquiddick, and therefore doesn't kill the girl when he's pissed out his brain driving across the narrow bridge. Therefore, he becomes president after Nixon, and things like that.
See, to be
And
honest
season
with you,
two, as with it,
that's something that sort of annoys me a little bit, because in order to watch that, I would need to subscribe to Apple TV. I would need to, pay that money for that, and it'd be just for that one TV show. And I've never been that kind of person, and it annoys me because it's the kind of thing I would actually enjoy watching, because I do enjoy the alternative history style of storytelling. Particularly, like I say, the one thing that comes to mind is The Man in the High Castle, which is another version of an alternative history. So yeah, I mean that sounds like, I mean, and you say it's Ronald D. Moore's involved in this, and how exactly
he's the showrunner. He's created it.
He's the showrunner. So in your opinion, comparing that to say the stuff that Kurtzman's been coming up with for Star Trek, how does that compare for you?
Oh, it's light years apart in terms of quality and writing and everything. It's light years.
I mean, is it not a little bit unfair to sort of make that comparison, considering that it's technically two different genres of television, or is it just purely simply, because it's got Ronald D. Moore as a showrunner?
No, I mean it is fair to compare them in terms. They're not different genres. They're both science fiction. Where it is a bit unfair to compare them is you're comparing a show that's written by someone who's a genuine talent compared to someone who's a hack. That's where it's not fair.
Well, to be fair though, I mean, like I say, everybody's opinions are like assholes. We've said this before. I'm not promoting Kurtzman. I'm not defending Kurtzman, but I just feel like he does get a little bit of a bit of stick, because at the end of the day, it's not all. It's not all him though.
He gets stick because he wrote Star Trek 2009, which is rubbish. He wrote the Transformers movies, which are rubbish. He wrote the amazing Spider-Man 2, which is rubbish.
They didn't need to do that, but yeah, okay.
For some reason, CBS decided this is the man for Star Trek, and we need to chuck as much money as we possibly can at him. Why? Based on that CV, really?
I mean, I will give you, something that it's almost a 3 out of 3 on that particular. I agree with you with the Transformers movies. I didn't rate them much. I mean, I was so excited when they came out. I was like, oh, brilliant. But have I watched them again? No. Did I watch them for the first time? Yeah. Did I enjoy it? Yeah. Would I watch them again? No, not really. I just feel that sometimes there is. I mean, I agree with you on a lot of the points with the what you're saying about Kurtzman and stuff, but I don't sort of dislike the man. But I think it's. Do you think there's an automatic prejudice towards the new stuff from people like yourself and myself who grew up and watched the originals and the TNGs and the Deep Space Nine?
I wanted to like Picard. I didn't choose to hate it. I didn't choose to hate it with every cell in my body, but I did. But I wanted to like it. I gave it a chance. I watched it I watched it all. I watched every episode. And actually was quite surprised the first couple of episodes, because it wasn't a car crash right from the off, but then it very quickly became one midway through the season.
So at what point did it? We'll get onto that in a minute, but carry on.
I wanted to like it. I wanted to like Discovery. I didn't dislike with a passion season 1 of Discovery. I thought it was bang average. Some things I liked about it, some things I didn't like about it. I didn't have a problem with them trying to do different things different. It was just almost immediately. The tipping point with Discovery for me was episode 1, season 2. That was the tipping point. Absolute car crash episode. The least Star Trek episode, or one of the least Star Trek episodes of any Star Trek I've ever seen.
See, I disagree with you on that one, because I think, to be honest with you, it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I didn't dislike that episode because I thought, well, it's kind of, it plays into went through a through a wormhole through time, and we all know about the temporal dynamics and whatever, sometimes people that can enter a wormhole at one end immediately after each other don't necessarily exit the wormhole at the same time or at the same point. So it was interesting for like Burnham to come out first, and for that sort of I'm all alone here. That was I thought that was pretty good. Where I think they fell on their backsides with that one is that should have been a development of 2 or 3 episodes. But what spoiled that for me was that it was like episode 1, oh look, we've got Burnham, she's all alone, blah blah blah. By episode 2, the storylines jumped.
You're talking about season 3. I'm talking about episode 1,
season 3. Sorry,
yeah, season 2. Oh, you're just not with it today.
No, I'm not.
You're an hour and a half late. Right. Okay. So episode 1, season 2, we have this science officer who mansplains everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you now.
Then when they're doing their Empire Strikes Back flying through the asteroid belt scene, and he's being all cocky, he gets killed. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
When have you ever seen a Star Trek story that treats the audience like that, where a crew member gets killed, a Starfleet crew member is killed, and the audience is glad because it's been written in such a way that you're glad he's been killed because he's been such a douchebag? Where did the respect for life in Star Trek go when that's what they're writing? Where does that ever happen?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, I mean, now we're back on the same page here because, something wrong.
Well, at least we're on the same episode now.
Honestly, I don't know why I jumped season when you said that, to be honest with you. But anyway, on that note, I do agree with you. To be fair, it was almost like it was a public display of, we don't want mansplaining in this. We're going to, this guy's mansplaining everything. Well, let's give you a visual clue of how we're going to treat that by, him getting his comeuppance. Just don't do it. Just don't put it in there in the first place. I think it was not a cheap shot, but I think it was an unnecessary little caveat in the middle of the episode. I mean, let's be honest with you, it is an issue. But at the end of the day, I just don't think it was necessary in that episode. But I think, to be honest with you, season two started off well for me. It was going good. We had Pike. We've seen the Enterprise. We thought, okay, fair enough. This is different. But then, what spoiled season 2 for me was the fact that when you get to the bit where I think somebody realised very quickly that, oh, right, we have a Crossfield class Starfleet ship that can jump, that can do X, Y, and Z, that does all these things. But yeah, there's no mention of it anywhere in any Star Trek canon, fandom, whatever. We need to
Well,
get rid of this. And I think it was a bit rushed.
I'm going to defend Kurtzman here, right?
Go for it. This should be interesting.
Right, all this, making it 10 years before Enterprise, the flying mushroom spaceship, making the first officer the centre of the story, that was not Kurtzman. That was Brian Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Kurtzman's made a dog's dinner of it since then, but all those elements were Brian Fuller.
No,
so
I think
Brian Fuller that came up with the mushroom spore drive.
But on that note, I think now that even though, to be honest with you, it's not my cup of tea the way that Burnham's ended up in the captain's seat, because for me that just basically says you can be insubordinate and still become a captain.
Or you can be as useless as Tilly and be first officer.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree with
Why?
that.
Why? Why would you make an ensign first officer above all the other more experienced officers?
Yeah, okay.
And don't say Star Trek 2009 because Kirk done it. Who wrote 2009?
But the thing is, she was only, and I think, to be honest with you, right, that Saru did that pure and simply because it was an opportunity to give Tilly some experience, because that's where she wants to be. That was, where I think that falls on its behind a little bit is when he leaves her in charge of the ship, or she ends up being left in charge of the ship. And that's like me putting somebody that's just in the job for 5 minutes on the bus and just saying, right, there you go up to the end of the route and come back. I'll be here when you wait. I'll wait here for you. I think, to be honest with you, I think it was an interesting character sort of story for me, because I do like Ensign Tilly's character, and I was interested to see where that would go, and it didn't go the way I thought it was going to. It didn't go.
Just didn't put any thought into it. That's
no, exactly. But that being said, we now have all the things that have gone before. Let's just draw a line in the sand. Boom, for season 4. Burnham's now in the captain's seat, which means that we are now back to how Star Trek traditionally has been, where the centre character has always been in the hot seat, the captain's chair. So now we have that. Let's move on forward now. Hopefully, and I am extremely hopeful for this, is that they do this properly now. They do this. The stories there and stuff like that. But what I want to see is a development and an explanation of what the deal is with Saru, what's happening with him, and why we didn't see the formal handing over of the captaincy in the end of season 3. Because that was like, okay, Saru's, and all of a sudden Burnham's in the captain's seat, and I said, whoa, hang on a minute. I mean, maybe it's just a personal preference, but whenever there's a change of command, there's always some formal, Starfleet has always done it. It's a sort of a, not a military organization, but it takes a lot of military and naval traditions on board. So, and when we see that in the Abrams movie where Pike and Kirk exchange command, stuff like that.
Yeah, that had lasting repercussions, didn't it? That must have been about 5 minutes that lasted.
Yeah. But anyway, by the by, it happened. So that's what I think was missing. I just hope that now that they've sort of realigned, if you like, that it goes forward and does well. The one thing that sort of one of the few things that actually do nip for me a little bit about Discovery is we've had some, what I personally think to be good characters have come into the show, and they've lasted all of 5 minutes. and that's what's annoyed me is that I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not Burnham's not my top character, but she's not a bad character. And I don't dislike the character. She's just not my favourite. But she's been consistent in it. Tilly is in my, Burnham's in the top 5, right? But Tilly's in the top 5. What I want to see more, but I know for a fact that she's not going to be in it as much as what I would like because of the COVID restrictions and stuff like that, is Tig Notaro's character, Reno. I think that an engineer of a starship, a chief engineer of a starship, has always had that character, something about the character which has defined them, makes them a little bit. So I mean, LaForge was very. Trying to describe. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe LaForge.
LaForge was the oldest virgin on the Enterprise.
Okay, we'll go with that. And you had Scotty, who was very witty and the one-liners and stuff like that. The character, and I think sort of Reno is very much, for me, in a similar vein to Scotty in the sort of the very quick-witted and very resourceful nature that she has. I love that character. I like Stamets, but not as much as I like Reno. A couple of the other, I mean, I liked Laurel's character, and that's now gone because they've jumped all the way into the future. It would have been interesting to see how that panned out. Her chancellorship. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll get some flashbacks in the future. Who knows? Season 3, Rin's character, that annoyed me a little bit because I was seeing Rin's character sort of develop a little bit in a couple of episodes we've seen in it, and I was like, oh, this could be one of those redemption development storylines like we got with sort of rehabilitations and stuff like that. We got 7 and 9 and stuff like that, and I really liked the way he came across on the screen. And then for them to just go boom, no prior warning, no setup, don't ever get shot, gone, vaporized. And I feel, yeah, it proves that they're not, no one's sacred. But I think just as you start to get to know a character, just as you start to get to connect with a character, they've done it a couple of times now. They did it with what was I forget the name off the top of their heads. The augmented human character. What was her name now? I've had a brain fart. Help me out here.
I don't know who.
Arian.
I don't know who Rin is.
Arian. You know who Arian is, don't you?
Well, her Arian. Yeah. Oh yeah, we've got one. Yeah, I know who Arian is. I don't know who Rin is.
Well, obviously, no, you don't, because you've not seen season 3. So.
But no, this is a common theme with the Kurtzman-led storytelling. They'll introduce something that could be interesting. I mean, going back to season 2, episode 1, they make a big thing about introducing Tig Notaro as the chief engineer, or making her the chief engineer. But then you don't see her for 4 episodes. In Picard, you had these Romulan housekeepers, and just as you're starting to find them interesting, poof, they're gone. They're farming grapes while Picard's out running about the galaxy with Rios and Raffi, Jesus Christ. And
I take it you've got a bit of an issue with Raffi.
What was she for? Seriously, what was the character Raffi for in Picard? What did she do?
Well, I don't think it was about what she
had about calling him GL, and that was about it.
I think.
What was she for?
I think, to be honest with you, I think there was an attempt to sort of not distance Picard from Starfleet, but to sort of like almost put his character into the civilian world by these people who are in his circle, and Raffi's in his circle. she knows people. She knows who the ship is. Somebody who had the ship. She had her reasons for being on the ship because she wanted to go and find. I think was it a son or something. So each person on Picard's little merry banded ship has their reasons for being there. I don't think it was personally there was so much going on, not confusing, but a little bit overwhelming in places. The only thing that I sort of didn't like about that was what was that guy's character's name? Well, I'll say this: the Lord of the Rings pseudo ninja Romulan.
Yeah. What was he for? Chopping people's heads off. That's very Star Trek as well,
Again, another example of bringing somebody in and then getting rid of them. Hugh. I mean, I would have liked to have had Hugh in the for at least a season and a half, 2 seasons at least. Admittedly, whether you agree with it or not, I would have liked for Icheb's character to be actually played by Icheb's actor.
Not ripping his eye out would have been a good start.
Well, the thing is, I know why they did it. I think it was a little bit unfair, to be honest with you. But no, overall, I mean, I did enjoy Picard. But there was, like I say, there was issues with it, and I've lost my train of thought, which is usually what happens with these things when we have random
Easily
episodes.
done.
Yeah, I know.
Easily done.
Right. Well, I did ask, like I say, we did ask a question on social media, what should we talk about? And Frank McCravel basically said, oh, well, we fucked that up. He said, I suggest something nice, light and funny, such as, for example, our next travel destination, somewhere we want to visit at all costs.
Our next travel destination, so not our favourite place that we've been.
Not a favourite place we've been, somewhere we would go. I think if I'm understanding this correctly, somewhere we would go where, regardless of money no object, be damned if we don't, place we would go.
Other than Risa, where you can go and have mad sex orgies all day.
Well, I tell you what, let's split this down the middle, right? Let's do a real place, a real location, and then we'll do a Star Trek version. We'll start with you then, Greg. I guess we'll start with you. Go for it.
Okay, I'll start with the honourable mentions, which would be India, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Japan. But I think where I would like to go next would be Namibia.
Namibia. Okay. Interesting. Any particular reason?
It'd be quite interesting. You've got the Namib Desert, you've got the Skeleton Coast, lots of wildlife, and the world's highest sand dunes. So
you wanted
a bit of a photographer's dream.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that would be amazing to go to places like that, to be honest with you. I mean, I like to see them places on TV. I like to look at the pictures and stuff like that. Don't think it's somewhere I would go, but you mentioned a place there which was going to be my selection, which would be Japan, because I do have a little bit of an affinity for the culture, for the way of life, the food. I'm currently reading up on several Japanism, stuff like that. Also reading up about Zen, a few other things as well. So yeah, Japan would be the place I would love to go. Mainly as well because they have one of the most efficient railway systems anywhere in the world.
Oh, you just had to get trains into it, didn't you?
Of course I did.
Just had to get trains into it.
But yeah, that's where I would go at all costs. Would be my next place to go. And of course, it goes without saying that seeing as he was the only one that actually made a comment on this particular question, I would go and visit Frank in Napoli.
Where does Frank? Napoli.
Napoli.
Home of the pizza.
Home of the pizza. Genuine pizza, not that.
Frank's not a very Italian name, is it?
It's well, I'm sure he won't mind me explaining. He is very much Italian. His proper name is Francesco. I don't know his second name. He's not told me his second name, but McCravel is his Twitter handle. But yeah, his first name is Frank, is the English version of Francesco, so it makes sense. But yes, he considered himself to be um, a Viking, a Roman Viking, Italian Viking.
Roman Viking.
Yes,
I've never been to southern Italy. I have been to Rome though. Sarah and I had a week in Rome a few years ago.
I briefly
But
travelled through Italy, never stopped, but we travelled through Italy on our way to Croatia. Needless to say, it was an experience. We managed to, there was no other way, there was no way to avoid this, but we managed to hit the Milan ring road system right on rush hour. And yeah, that is certainly an experience, driving a coach through Italy past Milan at rush hour. Lane? What lane? Even the hard shoulders are lane.
have you ever driven, talking about driving experiences, you ever driven around the the Arc de Triomphe?
No, I haven't, and it is one of, there's two things that I've always wanted to do that I've never had the chance to do, and probably will not get the chance again given my career path at the moment. But two of those things is, one of them was the Champs-Élysées and the Arc de Triomphe, and the other was the Millau Bridge in the south of France, which I believe is the highest road bridge in Europe. I don't know if it's the highest road bridge in the world, but it's definitely the highest road bridge in Europe. But I wanted to drive it. But there was a time when I got close to doing that. It was a case of we were heading down to the northeast of Spain, and we had the option to go that way, but the coach wasn't behaving itself, and we had to go the long way around, because to get to the Millau Bridge, it's quite a climb. It's a coach killer. And to be fair, the coach wouldn't have made it up to the top of the hill without breaking down, because it would have just wrecked it. So yeah, the Millau Bridge and the Arc de Triomphe are the two things I wish I'd done, but I haven't. However, I have driven through the Gotthard Tunnel.
Which one? Is that the Mont Blanc tunnel?
No, it's not the Mont Blanc one. The Gotthard one is the one where you go from it's in Switzerland, longest road tunnel in Europe. And yes, that is certainly an experience, especially when you're passing other vehicles as big as you with literally millimeters to spare, because it is quite a narrow thing. That was an experience. There was a time when go on.
I'm on Wikipedia, and basically they're all the highest bridges in the world are basically in China now. There's although coming in at number 29 is the Mike O'Callaghan Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge over the Colorado River, which stands at a height of, I've lost it, number 29, which stands at a height of 323 meters above the river, so it's 1,060 feet. And I've walked across that one, so I've been on one of them.
Now there is a bridge over the M62 motorway in the north of England, which is quite high over the motorway itself, but it's it doesn't quite count, because it's quite high. It's the highest one above sea level, but when you they measure these things from the actual ground itself to the deck of the bridge, so it's not the highest one above sea level, but it's the highest one above the ground. But this one's quite, I can't remember exactly how many feet above sea level the deck is, but it's, I mean, you kind of sort of would expect it to be the highest one above sea level when it's the highest motorway above sea level in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, so I've been on that one, been on the 29th highest bridge in the world. There you go. How's that for?
I've not been on that one, so I've not even been to the States. By the time I ever get a chance to go to the States, there'll probably not be much of it left to go to, especially after the snow. I mean, if there's anybody, if the guy on the last from Texas is listening, please get in touch and let us know what your experience of your snowpocalypse was. Because the interesting thing, I mean, I joked about this in the previous episode, but that's all, but the thing is they were on about power outages and stuff like that, is the way that the system in the States, the power system is set up, is so archaic. It's ancient, but it's all private companies that will not invest in the infrastructure until it breaks, which is a shame. But then again, we're not going to go into that too much because that's a whole different thing. I mean, we've already spent a lot of time on a Star Trek podcast not talking about Star Trek.
Oh, is this a Star Trek podcast?
Allegedly.
Okay. Oh, okay.
The other part of that was if you could do a Star Trek destination. I mean, I'm ad-libbing a little bit with Frank's suggestion, but I'm sure he won't mind. But where would you go? I mean, obviously the obvious one is Riser, but let's just say Riser's not on the cards. What would you do?
I'd go to Deep Space Nine.
Of course you would. Yeah, Dabo tables would it be?
Although I have met Lita, to be honest. I met Lita a couple of years ago.
Our second officer, Mr. John Brogan, actually bumped into Chase in Birmingham, and I mean when I say bumped in, actually bumped into her. Mm-hmm. Which he probably still talks about that today.
Yeah.
Bless his socks. Fantastic singer, by the way.
Yeah, she's a good singer.
Oh, absolutely fantastic singer.
So, I'd like to go to Deep Space Nine and walk along the promenade and maybe take a runabout through the wormhole.
I would probably go to Denobula.
Denobula. Mm. Is that because you can have multiple wives in Denobula?
Well, from anthropological point of view, it would be an interesting place to go and study the social dynamics and stuff like that of the Denobulans. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, we can get Mr. John Billingsley on board and he can enlighten us as to some of those social constructs. But
had a beer with John Billingsley.
Oh, check you out.
I've had a beer with John Billingsley in Quarks.
What do you need me for? Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you've been to Vegas.
Mr. Billingsley came over and had a beer with Sarah and me, and we had a chat. We put the worlds to rights. And then we said to him, we're going to Death Valley the next day. And he went, what? Death Valley in August? Are you crazy?
Well, that is, something. That was, as soon as you mentioned places you'd like to go and stuff like that, I was amazed to find out that Death Valley was the hottest place on Earth. I always used to think it was somewhere like the Sahara or something like that, but no, Death Valley in the United States.
Yeah, because you're about 290 feet, I think it is, below sea level.
Is it really that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bloody hell. I'll tell you what, why do we need to go and visit other worlds when we've got such amazing things here right on this little planet that most people don't know anything about?
Yeah, and I went to the Grand Canyon. It was okay.
You know something? I always remember there was a guy I met when I was working from the States, and we had an interesting conversation about places like the Grand Canyon and stuff like that. And he made an interesting comparison because he said, everybody goes to America, everybody goes to the Grand Canyon, they go to Mount Rushmore, they go to the Yosemite National Parks and stuff like that, and they go to New York, they go to Washington, they go to Los Angeles, San Francisco, and every single one of those places, you go to them, you see them, and it's a case of box ticked. You go there and you're like, yep, I've done it, and this is pretty much it. But he said this is the reason he keeps coming back to Scotland. He told me is that every time he comes back to Scotland, he gets that wow new experience every single time. It never gets old. I mean, obviously, like I say, it's all a matter of perspective. Some people, have different perspectives, but it kind of sort of hit the nail on the head a little bit, because that sort of mindset was the first time I went to see Stonehenge. right? Now, every time I've seen Stonehenge on TV and read about it in books and seen it on documentaries and stuff like that, it looks like this amazing, and it is an amazing historical monument. But you get this image in your head of this is going to be an amazing thing to see. And like I said, on a coach tour, drove down there, parked up, went for a look, and it was rather underwhelming. And I don't mean that in a sort. It was. I don't know whether I was expecting more from it, but do you know what I'm getting at?
Well, I think the thing with somewhere like Stonehenge is as a visual spectacle in itself, it's not much to look at. Where I think you do get more out of Stonehenge is if you really know the history and the mystery about it, and then it's only then when you actually see it you get the full appreciation of what it is. But if you're going there expecting to be blown away and you know nothing about Stonehenge other than it's just 5,000-year-old stones, you're just like,
Let's say I know enough. And to be honest with you, that wasn't it for me though. I mean, because I know enough about Stonehenge to be fascinated by, because it has, like I say, there's elements of ancient alien theory about it, as well as people believe that how did it get there? How did they make because the stones themselves are not from the locale.
Those people that believe that, they're not getting the COVID vaccination, are they?
Careful, because I do genuinely believe that we have been visited by extraterrestrials in the past, because there are certain things on this planet in their history that cannot be simply explained.
Doesn't mean it's not evidence of aliens.
No,
we've never been visited. We've never been visited, and it is highly unlikely we will ever be visited.
Now, here's the thing.
Highly unlikely.
Here's the thing.
Highly unlikely we're ever going to visit.
Here's the thing, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's categorical proof. All I'm saying is that it's a plausible theory. It's like I say, it has not been proven, but neither has anybody. Neither has anybody been able to prove.
We've just picked. Listen, this is our next episode.
Why?
Right, this is our next episode.
Yeah,
you're going to convince me that aliens built Stonehenge and the pyramids.
Okay, right. Have you not seen Stargate? Come on, pyramids.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that is not a documentary.
What? Wait.
It's not. Stargate is not a documentary.
They even hired MacGyver to lead the team through the Stargate. I mean, come on.
Not in the film. It was James Spader in the film.
Yes.
And Kurt Russell.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I am so glad they went with Richard Dean Anderson for the TV series, because nailed it. But anyway, that is another. On that note, like I said, I did say this was going to be a relatively short one this week, and apologies for those of you who tuned in for a Star Trek podcast, because we've talked very little Star Trek. But at the end of the day, we have been talking about science fiction. We talked a little bit about ancient aliens. Gregor did mention.
We answered Frank's question.
We answered Frank's question. The only person to please, guys, just email in, messages, doesn't matter. Give us something to talk about. Give us something to chew on. If you
don't give us something to talk about, you'll just have to suffer more of this rubbish.
I know, this was terrible, wasn't it? This will be the episode that gets 0 downloads.
Yeah.
Well, thank you if you did tune in for this week. Don't worry, guys. The next episode will be more or less back to normal, and we thank you for everybody that does listen in every week. We thank you for coming back and putting up with us, and as always, let us know why you do that. Is it because you've got nothing better to do? Is it because you like Gregor's accent? Whatever it is, let us know, because every feedback is positive feedback, and every criticism is constructive criticism. We don't mind, we welcome it, because we do this for you guys, so please come and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Sparkler Week. Tune in next week for more Sparkler Week action and never miss an episode by subscribing to the podcast on the catcher that you are listening to us on. If you want to follow us on Twitter, then you can find us at Sparkler Week. Drop us a message, tell us how we're doing, or make a suggestion. We're welcome to all input from all our fans. So don't hesitate to get in touch and follow us on Twitter and on our Facebook page as well. Why not join us in 10 Forward if you like what we do and want to say thank you? The link for our Buy Me a Coffee page is in the show notes, so please check that out, and hopefully we'll see you there. If not, we will see you next week. Live long and prosper. It's up to you. As long as you come back next week and listen to us once again, we'll be happy to have you back. Live long and prosper. Oh, hello.
We have a little invader.
I have just been joined by my son.
Hi, Neelix.
Say hi.
Hello.
Hey. Hiya.
Can't we have you, Neelix, instead of your dad the next episode?
Okay, he just said okay. On that note, I've been the Alba android. He's been the Act Rabbit Ginger. Follow us on Twitter and on Facebook, and we shall see you next week. Beep 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 beep.
Okay.
Just he seems to think that my he seems to think that my microphone is a beep beep. So yeah, follow us. We'll see you next week, and live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper, folks.